This is the nature of everything. Don't stay stuck.
All right, so it's January, and maybe you're feeling a little off.
And not because something's wrong, but because maybe something was real. Maybe you had a moment, a shift, maybe even a breakthrough.
As a matter of fact, you might have been watching It's a Wonderful Life, or even sitting alone after everyone went to bed, and you felt that. You felt that flicker, or whatever it is, and it comes to you, and you think, I matter. I'm going to do things differently.
Yeah, and for a second, it was so clear. Not in a hype way, just quiet, honest, deep in your gut. Something that says, like, something has to change, and maybe I can.
But now it's a few days later. The world is moving again. You're back in your rhythm. And there's this part of you that's wondering, you know what? Did I lose this already? Was that feeling even real?
Yeah, and that's what we want to talk about today. Because there's this belief that keeps a lot of people stuck, and it's this: if I didn't change everything, maybe it wasn't even a real breakthrough.
It sounds honest, but it's actually shame in disguise. So today we want to name that. We want to talk about the difference between a breakthrough and an actual change. And you know what? We want to show you what integration really looks like.
Yeah, and it's not about hustle. It's about trusting the slow, quiet proof that your life has started to move in a new direction.
So you had the moment. Now let's talk about what it means to live like it matters.
Yeah, and that's where it gets tricky because most people don't walk around saying, like, I think I've changed completely. But deep down, there's this hope, this expectation, that because that moment it felt so big, something in you should already be different.
Yeah, it's like, why did I react the same way? I told myself I was going to be different. And why do I feel stuck? And I'm stuck in that same loop. And then that thought creeps in. It just wiggles its way right back in there that maybe it wasn't a real breakthrough. Maybe I'm not good enough to make this change, and maybe even my thoughts don't count.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, here's what I've learned, and it's not sexy. Breakthroughs, in that moment, they feel really powerful, but they do not rewrite your patterns, not until you practice them.
That's true. And that's the part that it seems like nobody teaches us, especially
I know
early in
why.
life. I don't know. But I mean, I missed it. I've missed it for years. These breakthroughs that we're talking about, they live in your brain, they live in your memory. But to your point, change actually lives in your habits. Change lives in your practices, in the tone in which you speak openly or speak to yourself, in those pauses, in those quiet times, and even in those interruptions that you didn't expect.
Yeah, you don't get changed in a moment. You get changed in those tiny little returns to what that moment showed you. Like every time you pause and breathe or you think or you just, you tell your truth. That's you integrating the breakthrough. It's breaking through.
And here's the thing we really want you all to hear. You didn't fail just because you still feel messy and out of sorts.
I hope
You
not.
did right? I mean, because that's every day. You didn't lose it because you snapped or you got pissed off or you froze up in that cool moment that you should have, taken the stage or whatever. Maybe you forgot something. All of that's fine. Again, it's not failure because it's messy.
Yeah, integration isn't perfect. It's the small decision to remember and to move like it mattered. Even if it's clumsy, it's going to be clumsy. Even if it's quiet, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. So, what does it actually look like when you're integrating these breakthroughs? Not just thinking about it, not just writing about it, not just journaling about it, but what does it look like when you're actually doing it? When body is in motion?
You know what? There's a neuroscience principle here called prediction error. It's what happens when your brain is expecting to do one thing, like shut down or abandon yourself or talk bad about yourself or whatever, but you don't.
That's how change starts. Not from clarity, but from these interruptions. That these paradigm shifts, that moment where your behavior doesn't match your old wiring, where you don't fall into your old practices and your old habits. It's odd because that's what becomes integration.
Here's what it sounds like in real life. You're about to apologize for something that's not even your fault,
Mm.
but you stop. You normally isolate when you're overwhelmed, but instead you text somebody. You keep people around. Or maybe you want to say like, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's always fine.
It's every
Yeah.
time fine,
Yes,
always.
you want to say that out of habit, but instead, like, maybe you say, I'm not fine. I want more.
Like that's wearing work boots when you're, making the breakthrough right there. That's pushing through. Like, I get it. No one's clapping. There's no applause. There's no grandstanding with it. Unfortunately, there's no theme music that goes with it in life.
That's
Despite
unfortunate, by the way.
that, we should all
We
have theme
should,
music.
yes, we should hear the swell and let people know that something mighty just happened.
Absolutely, everybody should have their own personalized song, like when you're walking up to the plate in Little League or whatever. Like, here's your intro song, but unfortunately, you only hear it in your head. But to that end, it's not that your brain doesn't notice, because it does. Your body also registers this. Like, when you're making these changes and when you're making these nuanced additions, your body and your brain knows it. That it recognizes it, and over time, that becomes your new practice. That becomes your new norm.
Psychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett says like that your brain is a prediction machine. It wires itself to repeat whatever you survive, even if that's unhealthy. So if you had a breakthrough, but you don't practice it, your brain's just going to default to those old patterns. And that's not because like you failed at anything. That's just because you didn't feed the new pathway.
That is exactly why this particular week matters, because your brain is still deciding what's real. It's still deciding what's real for 2026. And every small choice is casting your vote for the version of you that's either going to stay the same or it's actually going to change.
Now, I love it. It lets me know that I don't have to reinvent my life. It's each individual little moment of effort, of casting the vote, like you just said. You just need to notice where that interruption is happening, that pause, that little softer tone, or whatever it is, that boundary that you don't override. Those are all your votes being cast.
Yeah, but I mean, even though we know that these interruptions are already happening, and we know that they're often come in that softer tone, there are plenty of boundaries that we don't override, like you're talking about. So I think we also need to be aware that there's going to be disappointment that goes along with this, because we know it's there. Like, you had the moment, you had that flicker, and you made this, vow of what it's going to be. And you know what? Guess what? It's 3 days later, and you just yelled at your kid, and you're like, "I'm not gonna yell at the kids," but you did. Okay. Or your chance came up, like you were tagged at the meeting and you completely shut down and you passed that off to somebody else and you didn't take your opportunity. Or you caught yourself doing the exact same thing, whatever it is in your life. You know that you already swore that I'm done with this. I'm not going to do this anymore. And look where you are. You've done it, 113 times since this week started.
Yeah, and that's the part where everybody bells. We think like, see, I didn't actually change. That moment was just fake. Like
Yeah.
so unfair. But let me say this clearly. The moment it was real. Maybe your nervous system, it's just kind of catching up to your new truth.
Absolutely. Because change doesn't happen at the speed of insight.
Dang, yeah.
Like, the moment you realize it doesn't mean that you're changed. It does, however, happen at the speed of remapping the pathways in your brain and your body, and realizing that these pathways have already been built over decades. So you think about the speed of remapping that. That's the speed at which change happens.
I mean, we did say it's not sexy.
Indeed.
I mean, integration, it's not about getting it right. It's about returning to what you know is true over and over again.
Well, and to that end, it sounds like practice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't mess it up. You're just trying to get there. You're still stretching out and getting ready for the moment. You're still in your interruptions. You're still in these pathway rebuilds. All of it is just practice. Every bit of it.
And if you want some new language for that, like here's how we say it. It's not failure, it's feedback. Or we might say like, I'm practicing this. I'm on my way. Hey, so if you've ever said like, I'm not going back to that version of me, you know what? We wrote a book that tells you how to keep that promise.
It's called Confirm It, Own It, be intentional, and change the nature of everything in your life. It's a guide to help you actually live what you've been waking up to. And guess what? It's got a really long title. So it's obviously got to be awesome.
Yes. But seriously, go to coinyourlife.com and grab it. And while you're there, join the email list. We'll send you some upcoming ways to connect, and stuff that we're not posting anywhere else. Some stuff is a little more personal than we're comfortable putting on the podcast.
And you know what? We're on socials too. Just search Coin Your Life. And if this show hits something real, share it. Someone you love might need to hear it as much, if not more than you do.
All right, so let's keep going.
So James Clear says this: every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And look, you don't need a landslide. You don't need a boom. You don't need an explosion. You just got to keep voting for you. You just got to keep voting for the person you wish to become.
So today, the question isn't, did I change? It's, am I still voting for that moment? That epiphany, that thing. Am I still voting for that moment to matter? And to be clear, I mean, this isn't just something
James Clear? Are you going to be James Clear right now?
Yes, I'm going to be James Clear. To be James Clear about it, this isn't just something that we're saying to you. It's something that we have to say and continue to say to ourselves, way more than once.
Yeah, over and over. Look, I've had huge moments that, big decisions, deep clarity, all the things. And I was absolutely sure that I would never go back to that old way. But whatever it is, something hits, something lands, whatever it is, stress or exhaustion, you go back to work, old dynamics, whatever it's going to be. And boom, man, I know it. You felt it. I felt it. You're right back in those old practices.
Yeah. I wish I didn't know what you were talking about.
Right?
It's brutal because if you're not careful, you go back to those old patterns and then you stack shame on top of that. And you're just like, I should be past this by now.
Sure. But the truth is, change, as much as we want it to, it never just kicks in the door and announces itself boom, you did it. Notification has come through. Ding, new level acquired. It doesn't happen that way. I wish. It's subtle. And I think it's often invisible. It's a shift that other people don't notice for a while either. I think that not only are you feeling it and it's slow for you to feel, I think that it takes others around you quite a while to notice the shift as well.
Yeah. I think it's you lost 5 pounds. The scale told you and you're proud, but you see a lot of the same people every day and maybe they don't say anything because honestly, they didn't notice. You lost
Sure.
5 pounds over 3 weeks.
Sure.
It wasn't a big, huge announced change like you're talking about. It was subtle, and
fair.
even more, again, it's subtle over time.
That's fair. Nobody knows
so your butt does still look big in those jeans.
Well, but to your point, it's not like anybody knows that those jeans are actually fitting better today than they did, a week ago.
Right. Yeah.
To your point, you don't see 5 pounds easily, but you feel it. And you didn't feel it overnight either. So let's absolutely keep it practical then. I think in those moments, what are pieces that we can use to make it applicable? You can tell people, hold on, I need a minute before I respond. That's probably not your normal. If it is your normal response when you're kind of caught in a moment, well done. But I think too often we feel like we're cornered and we have to answer things. So if that's something that you struggle with, you can do that and say, hey, whoa. Give me a minute. Let me think about that before I give you a response. Also, you can tell people, hey, that hurt. I'm not going to pretend that it didn't. You don't have to come off the rails with it, but you can let somebody know. For instance, what you mentioned earlier, how are you today? Well, you may be pissed at the person who's asking you that question because they hurt you yesterday. And maybe instead of hey, it's fine, I'm fine, it's cool, it's whatever. Maybe today's the day that you change that practice and you let them know, hey, you hurt me yesterday. You hurt my feelings. You embarrassed me. Whatever the dynamic is, change that up. It's also okay to just sit here and realize I need something different this time. And I need something different for 2026. Great. I need something different for January. Wonderful. I need something different for today, Friday.
Those are really great small steps. But I'm going to cut that step even in half because that's how integration, I think, works. Maybe you just noticed that you almost said what Clint just said. I'm going to call that a win. It counts.
Sure.
You were
Yeah,
right there. You almost said it.
that's fair. Like if you can notice immediately that you let the moment pass that you want to capitalize on next time, that always puts you in the driver's seat for next time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because again, you're not failing. You're still in the middle of the moments. You're changing because you keep showing up. You're changing because you're utilizing what you know now. That really is the difference. You are working on it. You will only be able to see some of your big changes looking in the rear view. Looking backwards and after taking, a million of those small steps, that's what we seem to want to dismiss. We want to dismiss it while we're looking forward.
So, look, if you're still in the middle, like, what should you actually even expect?
First off, I'd expect resistance, not from the world around us, not from our environment, because I know this is a shock to us, but most people really don't care about what we're doing. I know that we feel that's where all of the embarrassment and the hesitancy and the pause to do anything or step up in the meetings or to have the conversations, like that's one of the pieces that create all of this resistance is because of us, because the people around us aren't really taking note of it. So if we know that, then we realize that this resistance is coming from the fact that our body and our minds are wired for familiarity. We've already talked about that. Like your body wants to keep you from feeling that discomfort of change. And so if we know we're wired for that, and every small act of change is going to feel weird, it's going to feel weird at first. It has to, because you're wired to feel weird about it.
Yeah, it might show up like you feel tired, like actually physically tired.
Mhm.
You might feel like you're regressing in some way, or you might hear that voice inside your head say, this isn't working. You knew it wouldn't work. That voice, the accuser, the asshole that just resides in there.
Absolutely. That guy's always in my head. I'm really working to shorten his length of tenure there. But I do think that as you keep going, the things that you'll notice for me, I'm a terrible over explainer and have been for a long time. And that's one of the things that is a big piece of what I'm working on is get conversations shorter and more to the point without over explaining. That's one of my practices that I'm dealing with. I think you'll feel relationships shift, not because you demand it, but because you stopped performing. You stopped a fake version of you and just are you, not a performance of you. I think you'll have the opportunity to rebound easier, bounce back from setbacks, like the things that would normally knock you down and keep you down. One thing I noticed for me, and you and I've talked about this, is forgiving yourself sooner. Like because we recognize it's not failure, but it's feedback. Like the things
Yeah.
that would feel like a failure and embarrassment and shame and all the things, you can get that off of you quicker. You know that you didn't hit the mark, and that's hugely important. I think you can basically be within yourself with a lot less drama.
And look, you'll see it again looking back months from now. Like when you realize that something that used to really just mess with your mind, it doesn't.
And surely you can recognize that you handled it differently. I mean, I'm not saying that you're going to stand in front of this mirror that you're talking about and say, "Hey, look at me. That was me integrating." That's not
Why not?
realistic. I mean, I wish like be that actualized. That's fantastic. But I do think that you have the ability to recognize these things and go, "Oh, well, look, that didn't wreck me out this time. I
Yeah.
did process that and I did handle that well."
Yeah. So look, as we head into this next week, let's not look for fire.
Mm,
Let's look for friction. Just that little like, I don't know. And when you find it, that tension you feel, that's sort of like, I don't know what to do, or, do I do the old way or the new way? That's not proof that you're failing. That's the moment you get to choose to vote.
absolutely. Don't be stuck. Be busy integrating. Be busy making these steps. It keeps you from being stuck.
And look, there's something we want to leave you with, and it's simple. but it might hit you deep like it hit me.
So there's a Hawaiian prayer. Lewis Howes talked about it recently on The School of Greatness. And it goes like this: I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
And look, when he was talking about it, it was powerful. It sounded immediately powerful to me. It's powerful, I think, because it's a prayer that you say to yourself.
It can simply be a way to re-enter your own life, your own authentic you, and you get to do it gracefully, and you get to do it with pride intact, and you get to do it as yourself.
Yeah, so look, if you've been beating yourself up because your change, it's not loud or fast or obvious, maybe this little prayer idea comes to mind, right? I'm sorry. Maybe for the pressure that you've been carrying. Please forgive me for all the ways that you've stayed stuck. Thank you for still being there and still showing up and still trying. And I love you because I hope you do love you. Like, even if you forgot.
That really is where integration starts, with you, within me, not punishing ourselves for what we didn't change, but trusting ourselves enough to keep taking the small steps that will make that change.
Before you go, just know it's time. Time to connect. Time to change the nature of everything. Find us at coinyourlife.com and don't stay stuck.